Spent nights at the Telford. Very famous people. And the guest book that was there then is still there now. And there was this satellite dish, this giant uplink dish, that's what it was called. I had this blinking light on it, red light that came in. It was fenced in, and it just was aiming towards the stars. And it was just a really cool view. And Darlene, Chuck's daughter, met me out of the car, and she offered to carry my suitcases up to my room, because that's where I was going to stay. And I remember that very, very vividly. And I told her, I said, that's not necessary. And now she refused. She goes, come on, silly, I can help you. And she was very nice and very accommodating. And it was just a step back in time. The landscaping was impeccable. There was fountains, and there was a restaurant there. And there was a buzz going on there. There was a radio network that was on fire, 24-hour talk network, live programming around the clock with news, up to the hour news with UPI and sports and weather and features and programming. And it was America's first 24-hour talk network. And it was called the People's Network. What was it? People's Network. Yes, this is PRN, the People's Radio Network. And then there would be a little disclaimer for stations before any of the programs would kick off. And Paul Gonzalez was on there, and Jack Ellery was on there, Jerry Hughes was on there, Joel Bush was on there, did a great broadcast. Joel Vincent, that was his real name. Just terrific. Bruce Amsterdam from New York, and then later on did a show, Bruce and Joyce from the Curry Mansion. But filled with great weekend shows and weekday programs, and thoughtful and cutting edge, and you learned so much about government. Michael Croce had the Home and Garden Show on there at the time. You learned about gardening and stuff like that in life. And people from all over the country would call these programs, and it was so interactive, and it was cutting edge, baby. I mean, and Chuck was there in the forefront making this all happen. And to see this happen as a young guy, I mean, there's radio stations. Some people have got, the Telford Hotel mixed up. Oh, there's a radio station in there. That was a radio network with multiple studios. From the bottom of the floor, production studios, TV studios, production centers. I mean, it was a happening place. I mean, his TV show was turned around daily. Around the clock they worked to turn out this stuff to the TV networks, had to beam this stuff up, and it just it was a work. I'm telling you, labor, and it made such an impact. And the bookstore, the order center was happening, where orders were called in around the clock. You'd see this stuff happening with the operators, and then the order center across the street, and then there was a shipping department. So it wasn't just the Telford. Chuck owned several different pieces of property in White Springs, Florida. And the post office, of course, the most busiest customer was Chuck. And he'd mail out thousands of items, and hundreds of items would come in daily for Chuck, for orders and checks and things like that, for donations, or just for books and tapes, for requests for the broadcast and stuff like that. But to see this happen, it was just, it was candy to me. It was just exciting to see it happen. But it was happening nevertheless, and it was a very special part of my life. And to see Chuck in action and see him at his A game, CNN coming down to try to do some terrible stories about him, make him look like he was some kind of mad militiaman, which Chuck was not anything but it. He definitely was for our Second Amendment, but he didn't run in the woods with these guys. He wasn't against them, but he certainly wouldn't sit there and, encourage people to have millions of guns and go crazy against the government and all that crazy stuff. I have no problem with owning guns. I think it's great, and that's all right. But anyway, I digress, and I can. Today is the day that we kick off the book, the DVD fundraiser, where talk radio at the Telford. This is the very beginning, and the untold story of Chuck Harder, the Clintons, the UAW, and the IRS. I need your help, folks. I need you to go right now, as a matter of fact, now, when it's fresh, to make a donation, because this will give us the fuel that we need. And that's basically what it is. Fuel. To be able to pay the people we need to pay for the research, to make the trips, the time it's going to take, and then all the wheels, editors that we need to employ to have this stuff so it's perfect, it's precise, as concise as it can be, and researched the way it needs to be. So it's an excellent read, an excellent watch, and I want this to be just right. And we're going to do this on a shoestring budget. And I know if some of you are like, man, $15,000 for a book and a DVD? Come on. It's cheap. How can we do it? Well, I got folks that would like to work along with us, and they're doing it to next to nothing to help us because they believe in the project. I need you to believe in this project now, too. If Chuck has helped you, if he has blessed you, helped you, and you believe that he's helped America and he's a patriot, then I need your donation today. Big or small, does not matter. If you can give a little now and then maybe more later, that's fine. But let's kick that off so we can see those numbers going up today. And like I said, I'll keep track and tally of all of that so you can see on a daily basis until we reach our goal of $15,000 for the book and the DVD chronicling the untold story of Chuck Harder, the Clintons, the UAW, and the IRS. It's a big undertaking, and I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. My granddaughter, she gave us a little cold or something like that. My daughter is sick. I got a bit of a cold myself. I don't know if it's a mix of allergies, but I'm going to get some Flonase a little bit later on. It's my throat, and the little allergies kicking up my way. My resistance has been down. I mean, when you're just, you're grieving, the loss of a loved one, just your resistance is down, and I think that's what's happened. Because very seldomly do I ever get sick. But anyways, I can't. I got too much work to do. So folks, please be instrumental in this way. Share in your social circles, wherever you are in this country, about what we're doing, what you're doing, why you're excited, and your stories on Facebook will be told. For the stories that you've shared about what Chuck has done and this and that, those things will be included. I appreciate so many of you that have opened up your hearts. You've really been there for me, and the condolences. I'd like to say a very special thank you to Megan. She sent me a card and a sympathy card, and God bless you. I appreciate that. And believe it or not, you don't get too many of those, when one passes. But that made a difference. There was a few that came in here and there, and that sorry for your loss and all that. But I lost a father. I lost a friend. Chuck was right there for many, many, many years to me. When my own dad passed away when I was 25, he was there. And good times and bad times, you know how it goes with families. But he was a blessing. And I got to be there for him at the later part of his life to get him to the hospital right on time, because he would have been gone many years ago. I was just able to come to the rescue. But the time that we got to just, talk about TV shows, and he'd reminisce about the old days of radio, and then encourage me with the broadcast of things that I was doing and make suggestions for the future for the people. And he believed in me, and as much as I believed in him. And that was enough encouragement to be able to continue for the people, and also this big undertaking of putting together a book and a DVD companion. And the companion is going to be a documentary. It's going to be, it'll go along with the book, and it'll just be a great, again, companionship, one for the other. And you'll see things. And, the visuals are great to be able to see it and walk you through it. And there's an old video that Chuck produced, and I just love it. Some of you may still have that treasure, and let me know if you do, but it was called Reflections. And Chuck took you into the Telford Hotel, and you got to see his radio studio, and you got to see the dining rooms and the property and all of that jazz. We're going to include Reflections in the video on the documentary, so you can see that as well. But that will be included in there. And that was done very, very nicely. But that'll give you a real flavor for that. And so we're going to get back into the Telford Hotel, see what it looks like now. And it's still a great place. It's up for sale. So if you know anybody that wants to buy the Telford Hotel, wouldn't that be really cool to turn that into a radio museum? I'm just thinking, there are people that have money and means to be able to do that. But to me, that would be a really cool thing. It would be cool for just the tens of thousands of people that love Chuck, and they'd just come off the exit and have lunch or dinner and sit in the lobby and listen to Chuck's show and then leave. They go to the bookstore. I'm not ruling out doing the show there from someday. But, sometimes things are meant to be and some things are not. Maybe the days are gone and it'll never happen again. But I'm open to the future, and we'll see what happens. But for now, mission at hand is this book and DVD. We got to get this out sooner rather than later. And yes, we're going to book interviews with all the networks. We're going to do press releases. I got Kay Reitz, used to produce for Chuck, involved. She's going to be calling out phone numbers and setting up guests and all sorts of things, so we can go ahead and tout the book and, again, learn about a man who really started the careers of so many talk show hosts. We heard from Ted Webb, and you can type him in. Ted Webb from WFLA was on our tribute show. And by the way, that's right online at forthepeopleshow.com. The show under this one today, it'll say For the People Tribute Show to Chuck. We had 5 or 6 guests. Ted was one of them. And he credits Chuck Harder to launching his career. And not only just his career, but WFLA 970, WFLA in Tampa, as for them to switch to talk radio because they were doing music up until Chuck Harder got on and started talking about the hurricane. That's a true story. You can listen to the tribute show. I didn't even know that. I knew he was on FLA. I knew he did a consumer show later on, but how that came to fruition, yes, that's going to be told. And Ted said because he's undergoing treatments for his kidneys, he's going through dialysis every 3 days, and he just said, Keith, it's kicking my butt. Use the audio, what I said, for the documentary, please. So we'll just get a nice photograph of him, and then the audio will play. But, man, that interview was remarkable. And they were friends. Chuck took him under his wing. And that's just how Chuck was. And Chuck did the same thing for me and the same thing for many. And you know what? He did that for all of us. So the least we can do, don't you think, is to make this book and DVD a reality. Talk radio at the Telford, the untold story of Chuck Harder, the Clintons, the UAW, and the IRS. All right, here we go. I teased you, and I told you I was going to give you a little flavor, and this is just so little, okay? But I'm just going to give you just a little something. This is the very beginning, okay? The infancy. You've heard it here first. Okay, here we go. It was 1991. George H.W. Bush was in the White House, and the People's Radio Network founded its new home on the banks of the Suwannee River in White Springs, Florida. Before operating its For the People broadcast from its garage in Tampa, Florida, it was a dream come true. I see my inflection was wrong on that. Before operating its for the People broadcast because Chuck was in a garage in Tampa, Florida before the Telford. Anyway, it was a dream come true building an independent network, a 24